So you've all been haunting me for almost 8 months, and I think it's time to tell everyone what I think about you. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Tom, and today I'm going to be doing a self-sponsored, in-depth suqqu review. So if you want to see more in-depth brand reviews from me, feel free to check out my Patreon and channel memberships. There's no pressure to do that, but it is kind of what makes this kind of thing happen. I have a lot of good intentions when it came to this suqqu brand review, and I need to tell you a story. So I've been very interested in the brand suqqu for a very long time. For the past couple of years, it's been a brand that's on my radar. One of the reasons I've been so enticed by it is because it's like something that's exclusive, kind of like hard to get, and the people who know about it always rave about it. And I was like, it has to be really good. It's this luxury brand from a different country. Like, I was just like, I got it so up in my head that this was going to be the best brand I ever try, and it was going to like change my life. Spoiler alert, it didn't. It didn't like at all. And it honestly like let me down in a couple of ways. But before we like jump into the review at all, I think you need to know where I'm coming at this review from. I live in America. Suqqu is a pretty hard brand to get in America, and I think you're paying a premium no matter where you're buying it. They sell it at Cult Beauty. If you look at Cult Beauty's prices versus other people selling suqqu's prices, Cult Beauty's prices are really spiked. They're pretty high. And if you buy from Selfridges or Harrods, you're going to have to pay a lot in shipping. So it's kind of like a pick your poison. You're paying a premium no matter what. And it's already a pretty expensive brand. I'm judging this makeup a little bit harder because it's expensive and it's a little bit hard for us to get. So is it really worth going through getting it? And I understand everything we do now is like we click a little bit and we have to wait a little bit. So it's like not like super hard to get, but it's like a brand that like not many people know about, or like, you know, outside of this space. And even a lot of people who really love makeup and know the Western market pretty well, they're not really aware of suqqu. It's like one of those, it's if you know, you know, and then if you don't, we'll get on board because like the rest of us do. That's kind of how suqqu feels to me. If you know, you know. I just want you to know that I am kind of judging this makeup harder than I would have if it was something I could have picked up at Sephora very easily or something, because I just want to make it clear that like I'm kind of talking more to my American market. Most of the people who watch my channel live in the United States, and our access to this is just going to be different than some other people's. I know like in the UK, in Europe, it seems like a little bit easier to get. And obviously if you live in Japan, I'm sure this is a little bit easier to get your hands on, but I'm just kind of speaking from start to finish. Do I think it's worth like going out of your way? Now, there are people who are much more willing to go out of their way to buy makeup. I know a couple of friends who use like mail forwarding services to get makeup from China that's not easily accessible here. That's not something I would ever do. Not because I don't think that's cool that people are doing that, but like I think makeup should be easier than that. And so, you know, like that's why if I've gone out of my way, quote unquote, to like get this makeup, I feel like it's going to have to feel worth it to me. And you might feel differently, and you might have different ways that you feel about, you know, how you buy makeup. And I just want everyone to know I wanted to love this. And that's why I've sat on reviewing it for so long. So I've done full brand reviews in the past where I bought a lot of makeup from a brand, and then I tested it for a couple of months behind the scenes, and then I like told my audience how I feel about it. I've had this makeup since December. I tried it at the beginning of January, and I posted that video a couple of days ago. I will link it up in the cards if you haven't seen it, but that was my first interaction with it. And honestly, like I tried it for a couple of months and I just like wasn't loving it. And I was scared because I wasn't loving it because I'd only heard people rave about this brand. And I think that might be part of the problem. When you hear people praise something so much, the only thing that makeup is going to do is let you down. Or like if it's a movie, it's like could be anything that's so hyped up and you're getting in on it like later after everyone's raved about it. You're like, I don't know that was really as good as these people made it out to be. And not only that, finding swatches or trying to figure out what colors look like online is very difficult. What Suqqu has provided these companies as far as swatches go is like not very helpful. And then when you try to dig a little bit deeper, it's hard to find. And I don't know how to search in Japanese. I bet I would find maybe some more useful tools. But when I look up like Suqqu swatches on my end, it's there's not a lot to go off of. So I had to guess on some of my complexion products too. And yeah, so we're fighting an uphill battle. I don't think that me nor the makeup knew that that was going to be how it worked out, but it did. So like I have tested this for many months, and I think I was waiting to tell you about it until I felt the way that everyone else seems to feel about Suqqu as a brand. And I just unfortunately do not feel the way that a lot of people feel about this brand. And that is not to say I don't think that the makeup is all good, because some of it is. However, again, the access part comes into play. And I feel like, obviously, I kind of just spoiled it. Overall, I don't think if a Suqqu is not easily available to you, that I just don't think it's worth going out of your way to buy. And none of the formulas felt like anything that I couldn't find elsewhere in the American market more readily. And I think if you're going to go out of your way to spend this much money to buy this stuff, that it has to be something so magical that I haven't seen nor touched in America as far as like getting my hands into makeup. It's a no from me, unfortunately. So if that's all you needed to know, that's the end of the video for you. We'll go item by item, and I have them kind of laid out in the order in which I would have applied them. So first up, I have the Smooth Cover Primer. This actually really kind of like felt more like a tinted moisturizer to me. It definitely had some coverage to it, and it has SPF in it, I do believe, SPF 30. And I think if it was a tinted moisturizer or like a tinted SPF product, I think I'd like it more. Like if that was what it was. I liked it as a base. I thought it was a pretty good base, but I felt like it was pretty matte. It made my skin look good. I feel like it lives up to like the smoothing, the blurring, and it doesn't feel like professional or anything like that. It definitely is like a more sophisticated formula. Like I didn't mind putting on my face. I didn't find that it like pilled or anything, being that kind of silicone kind of formula, because I feel like that's a thing that happens a lot with those pore filling primers, is that people run into pilling and it doesn't, like things don't layer right, and whatever you put under the primer and whatever you put over the primer, there's like a lot. I don't feel like it was ever that fussy, but I just think this kind of primer isn't my favorite kind of primer. I like a moisturizing primer, and I do most of my blur work in powders. I like my primers to have some blur, but I think I prefer like a little bit more of a moisturizing thing. But if your skin's really oily, like this could be something that I would see be beneficial. I think the thing, it's not as finicky as what I remember the Becca Evermatte Poreless Primer being, but I feel like it has the same effect that product had. That product, I definitely had to press into my skin as opposed to like rubbing it into my skin. You could rub it into your skin like a lotion. It wasn't like a big hullabaloo. But yeah, when I think of my favorite primers, like the Victoria Beckham primer being my favorite primer, it's just not my favorite kind of primer. It's not a primer that wowed me so much that like if you're into this kind of thing, I would suggest you buying it. And like, because I think primers for most people, if you're only using one primer every day, primer is something that you're gonna have to like buy quite a bit, like every couple of months. So basically you would be putting an order in and like waiting for this product to ship to you from like Europe every couple of months. It just seems like that doesn't feel like easily attainable, right? Like it doesn't feel like it'd be worth it. I do like there's an agitator in it. To me, that's really important. If you want me to shake your product, make it sound like it's supposed to be shaken up. Obviously, when it comes to SPF, I wouldn't say that this would be the only SPF that you should use. I would use an SPF under it, and like I did. Like it's not a bad product, but it just didn't take me there. It didn't take me over the edge. And I am someone who like loves a primer. I'm not one of those people who like doesn't believe in primer. Like I think that primer does a lot of things. Honestly, because it's not my favorite kind of primer, I'm not gonna keep holding on to it. I don't want to keep looking at it. But like I said, if it was a tinted moisturizer and it came in a bunch of shades, I think that would be better. I think that would be better because I like the way my skin looked with just this on, even the little bit of evening out. And I really like coverage. So, you know, that's for me. That's like, in my ideal world, this is what this product would be. So it's nice. I paid $49.50 for this. And if you buy this on Cult Beauty, it's $62.10. My favorite primer is more expensive than that. Just full honesty. There are a lot of primers I think that are easier, accessible to most people, that are less expensive, and I think that would be probably the route to go if you were looking for a smoothing primer. Next up, I have the liquid foundation. So it's the one that comes in this bottle. They have a couple of different foundations. There's a cream one that comes in a pot. I think there's like 3 or 4 different types of foundations. Again, because of I try really hard not to watch other beauty tubers talk about makeup. So I didn't want to like watch another YouTuber like discuss the differences in the formulas and give a review, because I try really hard to come in as unpersuaded as possible whenever I talk about a brand or talk about any kind of makeup product. Like if all of us got the same product at once, I don't want to watch what other people are saying about it, because that will make me think that's what I think about it sometimes. Anyway, so I don't really know if this was like, this would have been the one I picked if I like knew better, like about like what the finish would be, but I think I did get the right one. This is a really, really beautiful foundation. I would say it's like a light coverage foundation, light to medium coverage foundation, and it just makes your skin look very doll like, very, very smooth, almost as if you put a filter on it. It's very, very similar to my favorite Surratt Dewdrop foundation, which I think, like, I love that it's very similar to it, and it wears really well throughout the day. I didn't do any like dedicated wear testing times of this. I know I normally do that in my foundation reviews, but I'm just trying to get this review out because I can't look at these products anymore. Like I can't have them in my drawer anymore. And I kept putting off because listen, it's been a tough road with this makeup. It has been. Of the products that I tried from suqqu, this is absolutely the best one. However, it's so similar to the result that I get from the Surratt Dewdrop foundation that it's not worth it for me to go out of my way to buy this. And again, it's an availability thing. This is more expensive than the Dewdrop foundation, and it's less available to me. So I paid $78 for this from Selfridges. I'm going to check Cult Beauty. And the only reason I'm double checking with Cult Beauty is because I feel like in my first impressions video, not that people were getting smart with me, they were trying to like tell me and notify me that like they think that Cult Beauty is more accessible than Selfridges. It's like, but it is more expensive on Cult Beauty. So like, you're kind of like, it depends on how much you're buying, where it would make more sense for you to buy it from. So if I were to buy it from Cult Beauty, it's $97.98 as of right now, as of the time of recording, which is more than the Dewdrop foundation. Not only that, the Dewdrop foundation goes on sale pretty regularly, and I also have promo codes. Other people have promo codes for it. So if I want the result of this kind of foundation, then I would just reach for my Dewdrop foundation. And because it was really hard to tell online what color would work best for me, I think that this color match just isn't the best. It's not bad. I think it looks good on my skin. It's just a hint yellow. It's just a hint yellow, whereas like the Surratt Dewdrop foundation is like a very fair beige. If you've been interested in trying the Surratt Dewdrop foundation and you think that one of the suqqu ones might work better for you, this might be something to check out, because I think they're like almost interchangeable, like the way that they look on my skin. I think if this was a perfect skin tone match for me, I think that like I would feel much more excited about it. However, it kind of does what a product I already have access to and that I've bought many bottles of, it does. So it's like, it's not that I think it's bad. I actually think it's a very, very good product. Like, I think there are other even comparable to the Surratt Dewdrop foundations available in the United States for less expensive money. You're not like saving money by buying the suqqu one. You're not really getting anything different out of the suqqu one, I don't feel, if you make the jump to it. So I have the shade 105, just in case for any of you who are curious and maybe are a skin twin of mine. 105 is the one I bought. I'm not sure if there's one that's going to be closer to our skin tone. It just was a little bit yellow. And obviously this is a product that is sold mostly in the Japanese market. There are common undertones there that aren't my undertones. So that makes sense to me. Like, I think that's it's okay that it wasn't a perfect match. It would be okay if there wasn't a perfect match for me in their range because I'm not the market that they're catering to. So like I'm aware of that as well. If you were putting an order together and you really wanted to try this foundation, if you like the kind of foundations that I typically like, then I think you'd really like it. I just don't think it's worth going out of your way. And because I have the Surat Dew Job foundation, which is like almost a perfect match for my skin tone, and is that slight filtering of the skin, I'm just gonna keep using that, and I'm gonna see if a friend would enjoy trying suqqu because I don't think I need to hold on to this anymore. So I also have the suqqu concealer. It's the Intense Cover Concealer. And I don't have any footage of this other than when I put it on in my first impressions video. The color is just not right. And again, I couldn't really figure out what the best color would be for me, but it's a little bit peachy. And I have like a more neutral pink leaning undertone. And so I think it could work as like maybe a color corrector on me, but I don't really do like color correction kind of things on my skin. It's not a part of my usual routine. So I think I'm gonna find that a new home. And honestly, when I like blended it out on my hand and like when I wore it on my face, the couple times I did wear it, it didn't feel like it warranted going out of my way to try to figure out if there was one in this range that was a perfect match for me. Again, the benefit of buying cosmetics in person, like at a Sephora or at a department store, is that I get to try and swatch and make sure I'm buying the right shade before I do. So unfortunately, this is just, I couldn't figure, I got the wrong shade. So I can't really speak to the formula beyond that. I don't think that they sell this anymore. And honestly, I'm glad that they don't because it's bad. I don't like it. It's this liquid highlighter. It's shimmer liquid highlighter. It's the shade 02. I'm not sure if there was another shade ever. Also, look at it. It looks like I've used a ton of it. I haven't used this that much because I don't like it. So my hope whenever I purchased this was that it was going to be something like the Auric Glow Lust or like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. It's not like either of those things. The best way I could describe it is that it's a matte liquid highlighter. I'm just blending it out on the top of my hand. And I don't know if you can like really tell in this like finger swatch. I'm going to acknowledge before I say what I say that all highlighter really accentuates texture. This does it in a way that an unexpected makes my skin look dry and scaly and just attached to anything wrong with my skin. This really made it look bad. And can you see what I'm saying where it kind of feels like it's matte? Something like the Auric Glow Lust, which I'm swatching next to it, kind of feels like incredibly juicy and honestly, it was designed with textured skin in mind because of Sam. She like formulated it so that people with textured skin could like get a really good glow. Look at how juicy this one is versus this one. It like sets down powdery, the one from suqqu. It's like not pretty. Like obviously my brain is like shiny, ooh, beautiful, gorgeous, shiny thing. Yeah, but like my skin does not look good wearing it. If you didn't watch my initial try on of these products, I had some pretty bad flare-ups on the tops of my cheeks this winter whenever I was testing this for the first time. It looked so bad on that texture. And luckily at that point in that video, like one side was really bad and the other side wasn't. It looked really okay on the side that like didn't have all of the texture on it. On the side that did have texture on it, it like just looked so bad. But even on the side where like even on good skin days, it still made my skin look like dry and kind of peely. So I just don't think this is a very elegant formula. It's also just not what I'm accustomed to when I think of a liquid highlighter, because I think of like, if I'm even thinking of like a liquid highlighter that's not like a skin enhancer, like Charlotte Tilbury's highlight wands is what I am accustomed to. And I don't feel like that makes my skin look bad. Even if I have a lot of texture, like you see the texture more, but it doesn't look bad. I don't know. And I also don't really love the undertone of this. It has a bit of like a golden sheen, which is like not my favorite kind of color of highlighter. That wasn't my big problem with it. My big problem with it was that it made my skin look like absolutely horrid. I never liked wearing it ever. If you're looking for a liquid highlighter, I think at least in the American market, the luxury brands are doing that a little bit better. I would recommend Auric Glow Lust. I like the Charlotte Tilbury. The e.l.f. one is pretty good, even though it's not the one I ended up keeping, but I've tried the e.l.f. one. If you're looking for like luxury in America, this isn't liquid, but the Chanel Balm Essentiel, like there's so much better. There's so much better than whatever that was. This is a product that I think is bad. Like not just like not worth the hassle of going through getting it. Like it's a bad product. I don't like it. This was $28.50. So like not the most expensive thing I bought from the brand. I'm just checking real quick. So there is like a pinkier shade, probably would have been more my speed if I tried that one, but I wouldn't go out of my way for that one. Also, on Cult Beauty, it's $35.88. So a $7 difference in what I paid on Selfridges versus what Cult's selling it for. Let's talk about this powder. So I would say behind the foundation, this is the thing that I wore the most and also liked the most. So they have a couple different powders. I think this is the most all-around basic one. It's just called the loose powder. And it comes in this honking jar. Like it's so big. Like this jar of powder is so big. So big. You get 20 grams of product. Let me grab another loose powder just to like compare with you. So this is a full size of the Givenchy powder and you get 12 grams of product. Fortunately and unfortunately, I don't run through powder a ton. I have a couple pressed powders that I've had for a couple of years that like I'm working on. I've been working on them for some time. So 20 grams is pretty generous. It's also pretty expensive, but I would say price per gram it's not bad. This powder is like a violet color sheen going on. I don't think it's like the supposed to be like the violet and pink powders that are very popular on the American market right now. I think it's supposed to have some of the effects that those do, but it doesn't strike me as like so pink or so violet. It just has a little bit of that, which really worked out because part of the foundation's issue with me is that it was a little bit yellow and this kind of neutralized it because it had that in it. Really like this powder. I think it's really good. I think it blurs really nice. I think it made my skin look porcelain doll, like perfect. Like I think it's a really good powder, like great powder. I would even go so far to say it's a great powder. I have great powders that are much more easily accessible here. So this is not something, again, that I would go out of my way to purchase. But if you are already making a purchase at a place where they sell this, it's not really like priced as an add-on thing, but I think this is of the products that I tried the most worth it, which I think a lot of us aren't really that excited about powder. I think the powder heads are very excited. I don't know what that's what we're gonna call. I'm gonna call us powder heads, people who are really into powder. I include myself. I think you'd really get a kick out of this powder or getting a kick out of trying this powder. It only comes in this size. There's no way to like sample it. You know how like a lot of the powders in our market, there's minis. It's, you know, when you're at the checkout at Sephora, you can buy a lot of mini powders. And I think even most direct to consumer brands have smaller versions of their powder. And if they don't after launch, like a few months from after launch, they typically have that available. This powder was $72, which is actually not the most I paid for a powder. On Cult Beauty, it is $89.70. Yeah, I think because you get a lot of it, I think this would take most people a really long time to go through. Again, it's like huge. I don't think many of you are on like the ever elusive hunt to find the perfect powder. There's two products that I'm considering keeping. This is one of the two. It's just, I have a loose powder going with the Givenchy. I like them about the same. I like the Givenchy and this powder about the same. So it's like, I don't know if it's like worth keeping it because if I'm going through pressed powder slowly, I'm going through loose powder even slower. Yeah, I just haven't decided if it's worth it for me to keep this, but I just also kind of like it as an object, packaging wise. It is in a plastic packaging. but it still feels super luxe. There is just something to interacting with this that I really enjoy. I find that the puff is too much powder for me, but I did try it a couple of times with the powder puff, but it is a nice thing to hold in all of the powder while it's in there. So in case you know, make any uh-ohs. Probably the thing that I was had the least amount of expectations about that I had the best experience with. I would say that this product is the star product. I think this is the thing that most people, when they talk about suqqu, is like the first thing they'll recommend. And it's their blushes. Now, they have a couple of different formulas. This is the pure color blush. They used to have the melting color blush. I think that's been discontinued. You can still find some of the shades in stock some places, but they've moved on to a new formula. In fact, one of you was like, did you know that they released a new formula? I did. But based on my experience with this, I feel like their blushes are probably all just good, because if this was the lesser of the two previous formulas, it's still really good. So this is the shade. This was a limited edition one. I haven't seen this in stock since I got it. It's the shade 133. I don't know what collection this went with, if it was a spring collection, a summer collection, or a fall collection. I have no idea where this one was supposed to be. The packaging of this is super sleek. Just super sleek. It is plastic, but it's so thin. I've not interacted with like packaging this slim with a product in it. It almost feels like there's no product in it, but it has like a pretty hefty mirror in there. So, and this color, I would say, I bought it because I thought it was really unique, and it is. It really is. I've gotten compliments on this anytime I've worn it in content, like if I've worn it in a video. The color of the blush, that orange, feels like it's gonna be so daunting and unwearable, but it like melts into your skin very much like the Surratt blushes do. There's like no fuss to this formula. It really just looks so natural on the skin. Even it being this color, it looks so natural on the skin, and it just feels like this color shouldn't do that. It shouldn't look so easily wearable on the skin, but I think it does. Like there's always a bit of that the case of when you're wearing like a yellow orange blush, it might make you look a little bit sick. And I don't feel like this does that at all. And this is like a highlighter. This is a very nice formula to wear as a highlight. So most of the time when I was like playing with the suqqu products, I just would skip this because I didn't like the way my skin looked with it. And I would just use this as a highlighter. The only thing I will say is I wish I bought because I don't know if I'm going to buy more of these blushes, because I try really hard not to do that. Like if I really enjoy a formula, to have it in every shade, I don't feel compelled to do that. There is like a beige shade in this formula. Every time I tried to buy it, it would like go out of stock while I was trying to check out with it. So I like settled on this because it was a unique color and I thought it would be cool to try a unique color. But I honestly wish the beige one would have been the one I ended up getting. Like I really wish that was what happened. I wish that was the one I got, because I just think I would use it a lot more, which is like why I'm like only considering keeping this one, because it's like I really like the formula. I just don't know how often I'll use this as a shade. And while I think it's a really beautiful product, it doesn't feel like so, like it's great, beautiful, wonderful. Again, I just don't know that it's worth going out of your way to buy. These aren't cheap blushes either. This was $37.50 when I bought it on Selfridges. On Cult Beauty, they sell them for about $47, $46.92 as I'm filming this. These prices will fluctuate and change sometimes, so I'm just telling you based on like what the price is now. However, because they remind me a little bit of the Surratt blushes, the one downfall of the Surratt blushes is the packaging. If you like that formula and you've been like, you're like, I kind of don't love the packaging of that, you were looking for like a similar thing but in better packaging. I also think that they have some really beautiful honed in colors that we don't see in the American market a lot. So that would also be a reason to check them out. Especially I saw like the shades they were releasing of the new formula of the blush. There were some colors on there that I thought looked really, really beautiful. So that would be the only reason I would go out of my way to buy this. But if you were just looking for like a basic pink blush, I don't think it's worth going out of your way. But if you're looking for like unique colors, it could be worth it for you, because I do think some of their colors are very beautiful, unique, and not something we see a lot in the American market. However, you do run into that issue whenever you're looking for swatches, swatches of the product, like what it's going to look like, what it might look like on your skin tone. It's very hard. And the other thing, when it comes to like limited edition stuff from them, kind of comes and kind of goes. You have to be really in on the know of whenever things actually might make it to the department store you might be buying it from. Another thing, because again, I don't know, this shade seemed to be, let me just check to see if it's on Cult. It is on Cult Beauty. This shade's 133, but it was, I think, part of a limited edition collection. Again, I don't think it's still available on Selfridges. Yeah, it's out of stock on Selfridges. It does look like it was part of a limited edition collection. If you've been liking this on me and you've been wanting to wear it, I will link this shade down below. All right, now we're to eyeshadows, and I bought a couple different things with the eyeshadows. So we'll talk about the quad first. This is the colorway Signature Color Eyes 11. So this is what it looks like. Kind of like with the blush, I do feel as though this was maybe not the right quad for me to buy, but it was really hard to figure out what one might be the one for me. So I thought this one might work out for me because it has some cool tones in it. It's like this cool brown with purple and this silver, and then it has this like champagne topper. I don't think that this color story really inspired me once I saw it in person, and I thought maybe once I use it. So I think that's part of the problem when it comes to it. Second thing is like, I don't think that the formula is that special. If you're looking for a luxury quad, this wouldn't be where I would start. So I've tried some other Asian brands eyeshadow, and across the board, I have issues with longevity, whether it's Chinese eyeshadow or Japanese makeup. It's just, I don't know. I think my eye chemistry, my eyes are really oily. Maybe that's not a thing as much there. My eyes really like to eat eyeshadow, so it takes a special kind of formula to last on my eyes. So that's one thing. But I also didn't find like this eyeshadow very intuitive to use. These all, in theory, should like work together. I think the thing that surprised me the most is that this brown is really pigmented. I wasn't expecting that. And I don't know why, because it does, every time I've interacted with this, it's all felt almost like Surratt. Some of the things felt a lot like Surratt and some of them didn't. And I was kind of hoping the eyeshadow would perform like Surratt eyeshadows. No. Surratt eyeshadows are really easy to work with, really blendable, almost like no work kind of powder eyeshadows. And this could be the colorway too, but like this dark brown, I like did not like working with it. It has like a kind of like sooty kind of quality to it. Like the eyeshadow is actually creamy to touch, but it kind of like applies as if it's like really powdery, and I don't know, I don't really know. The thing that reminded me of the most of eyeshadows I use is when Pat McGrath released the limited edition kits. I had the one that had the ultraviolet blue in it, and there was a baked black eyeshadow in it. And it performs a lot like that. It has like the sooty quality that black eyeshadow did. And I would say like it's also kind of similar to Pat's regular matte eyeshadows, which would be good news to some of you, but I actually don't like Pat McGrath's matte formula. It's one of my least favorite luxury eyeshadow formulas. I just don't like it because I feel like it's just too pigmented and it doesn't really blend out the way that I like it. I like my eyeshadows to build. So I like good pigmentation, but not intense pigmentation. And I like it to layer and blend. I want it to look very seamless when I'm done. And I just find that this matte shadow didn't. It could be a color thing, but I didn't love working with this brown. It just wasn't seamless. When it comes to the shimmer shades in it, I always love a topper shade. So the champagne topper, you know, it's a win from me. It's not like super exciting, but it is, in fact, just like a topper. I have so much stuff on this hand. I tried wiping it off, but the highlighter, neither one of the highlighters really came off. A champagne topper. It's beautiful. It's nice. It's not, again, my favorite topper formula. And I tend to like my toppers to be sparkly, more sparkly. But there is something to be said for a more like, quote unquote, sophisticated sparkle. On people who have more mature eyelids, they might like that sparkle a little bit more. So like, that's not a ding on it. It's just like, I prefer a sparklier, I prefer sparkly. If you can tell from my current eye makeup, I like a sparklier eye than what that can provide. The silver and the purple shade, they just kind of like weren't impactful enough to do anything on their own. And like, they're just like a soft, kind of sophisticated shimmer. We have Chantecaille here in the US. We have Tom Ford. And I feel like those formulas also can provide you something like that. They just don't feel like worth going out of your way. I would buy a Charlotte Tilbury quad first before buying this. The only thing that you don't get in the Charlotte Tilbury quad is like this beautiful packaging. I will say, of the luxury eyeshadow quads I've tried, I do think that Suqq's packaging is the best. I like the way this looks. It has like this gold detailing on the side. There's a lot, like, I like interacting with this. It's not really heavy. I tend to like weighty makeup. A lot of luxury eyeshadow brands don't really make weighty quads. So I like this packaging. I like the mirror in it. Like, I think that they kind of have it for that. So it's not to say I think I would never, ever buy a Suqqu quad again, but based on my experience with this, I'm not like enticed to buy another one. Like, I don't feel like I don't feel like I want to run to buy another one. They do some really beautiful color stories for their limited edition stuff. So maybe if there is like a limited edition one that I feel really called to, I would try the eyeshadows again, even though they don't have the best longevity. That's not really stopped me. There are some eyeshadows, like I really like the Surratt ones, but they also didn't last on my lids for very long. I actually don't have them in my collection anymore, but like it doesn't stop me from loving a formula. I just was like wanting more from my eyeshadow experience. On Selfridges, this was $55, so, you know, less expensive than a Tom Ford quad, but about the same price as a Charlotte Tilbury quad. I think you probably get more product in here than a Charlotte Tilbury quad. You get 6.2 grams. I don't have a Charlotte Tilbury quad to say that, so I will put that on the screen. But that's like price point. I think that the Charlotte Tilbury quads are about $50. So, you know, same price point, but I think that this has better packaging if that's what you're into. On Cult Beauty, it looks like they're on sale right now for $55, but it looks like they normally are $69 on Cult Beauty. I thought I was really going to love suqqu eyeshadows, and I really love a single compact eyeshadow. On my eyes today, I have a single compact eyeshadow. It's not something I've talked about on my channel yet, I don't think about having, but I did buy some of these. Anyway, single compact eyeshadow all over the lid. That's the whole look. So I assumed that this would really tickle my fancy. It's the Tone Touch Eyes. This is the shade 18, and it's this kind of like peachy beigey shade, but it kind of reads a little more pink whenever it's blended out, kind of like a beigey pink. Again, just like the eyeshadows in here, like the silver and the purple of the like the eyeshadow palette. It's like a beautiful, sophisticated thing. I want a little more oomph when it comes to a single eyeshadow. So that's more of a me thing. The other thing is, and this is more of a Selfridges complaint than it is an attack on suqqu, which I'm not attacking suqqu. I'm just saying, you know, here's my experience. Selfridges has this product listed several separate times. I bought this one, and this was the only shade in that. But then after I made my purchase, I was like looking something up. I found another listing for the Tone Touch Eyes, and it had shades I would have probably liked better than this one, even if they were the same sophisticated kind of eyeshadow look. I think they would have been shades I would have been more interested in as opposed to this shade here. So yeah, I think this is, again, like, it's not the perfect product for me. I do like this kind of thing. I think the shade's wrong, and it doesn't have the impact I like from this kind of thing. So not really a fault of it, but like, you know, of kind of just like, I wish I had more context for it before I bought it. And then I also bought this. This is another eyeshadow from them. It's just their liquid eyeshadow. And I have the shade 101. And it's the a taupey gray shade. So that's what it looks like. And what's interesting about this is it has a lot of sparkle in it. Like a lot of sparkle in it. But like, it almost feels like it doesn't. And I don't know how to describe it to you. It's like, I've put it on my eyes a couple of times, and I just feel like it doesn't look as sparkly as it ends up looking on my hands, or like when I'm swatching it, or like how it gets sparkle all over my face. I'm not really sure where the sparkle goes. It feels sparkly, and then it all of a sudden doesn't. I'm not a big liquid eyeshadow fan. So I knew that going into it, that this would probably not be my favorite thing. I was just a little bit curious about it because it looked more sparkly than their regular eyeshadows. And I thought, oh, I wonder if this would be like, you know, like the more fun version of suqqu eyeshadows. I think all liquid eyeshadows I've tried wouldn't last a frickin' second on my eyelids. And this was really no different. It creased up really quickly. Because of the shade it was, it did kind of do that really cool girl creasy with like some of the glitter caught in the crease and the oil. Like it looked cool. I don't think I disliked the way it looked. It's not a thing that I would go out of my way to try. It kind of reminds me, not like longevity wise, of the Rowan eyeshadows, the waxy Rowan eyeshadows. It kind of just gives you that like lived in look. I wish it held its color a little bit better. The thing is, when you put it on, it has the impact of the gray. But then the edges, when you try to like blend them, it's like it never is actually that gray color, because when you blend it, the gray kind of goes away and you're left with like an illusion of gray. I like a really blended look. It's my preferred look on an eyeshadow, as I like a really blended out look. And so to like get it super blended on the eyes but still have the gray, it felt like I could never achieve that. And it actually reminds me, sort of. It's not like the same thing because they're just different formulas, but it reminds me a little bit of the Souffle eyeshadows from Surratt. I only have one of these still in my collection. I used to have a shade that was a little bit closer. This is Pluie Mauve, and it also is a very sheer, sparkly eyeshadow. But this actually holds up on my eyelids fairly well for what it is. Like, I got a good 4 hours of wear on it before it really starts creasing. And like, you can build it up and get more impact on it. And so I would reach for this over this any day, but I think it's a cool product for me. I was just kind of hoping, I think because I got this around the time I got, like a little bit before I got this, and I really liked this, and I thought, oh, if Suqqu has something similar, I think I would really like it. And I do like the liquid shadow, but this one just performs a little bit better on me. Obviously, they're like different things. This is a liquid shadow. This is a souffle eyeshadow. But I would, yeah, I'm going to reach for that. I mean, I like this color a lot too, but I also love a gray. So it's not like out of the realm of possibility for me to enjoy gray eyeshadow. It's just not my perfect formula. I also don't like the doe foot applicator, and the formula feels pretty dry. And it's kind of felt dry the whole time. Like, I just don't like applying this to my eye very much. The liquid eyeshadow, this was $28.50. On Cult Beauty, they are $35.88. This is something, if you liked the way that looked, you might enjoy playing with it more than I did. That was a gamble. That was a risk. That one's on me. Like, I'm not going to blame Suqqu for this. I just like wanted it to be something that it didn't turn out to be. Second to finally, I have the mascara. I think they have two, and this is the eyelash mascara. I think it only comes in black. I haven't worn this in a while because I opened it at the beginning of the year and I try to be diligent. I did put it on in the footage you're looking at, but that'll be the last time. Here's the wand for you. It's like a cone-shaped wand. I like this formula. I think it made my lashes look really good, nice and separated. I think it was a very, very beautiful, natural looking mascara. This is the thing that I think the most. I would never buy this from an international brand. That would take, you know, a little bit of time to get to me if I ordered it, because I'm a person who like gets really close to the edge of mascaras like expiring, and then I open another one. In a world where I don't do this and I don't have the access to makeup the way that I do, I would just buy one mascara over and over again. Right now, my favorite is the Surratt Releve mascara, and I would probably just keep buying that. Every time I needed mascara, I would just buy that mascara. And so, like, if you were to be that person, you would have to, like, plan. I mean, obviously, you could buy two of them, but it just, to me, it doesn't feel worth it to, like, buy a mascara that way. I mean, unless it was your favorite. I just think that the mascara was really great, but like not unlike anything that we've had here. When you're going to be repurchasing something so often, I just think it doesn't make sense for it to be that way. I think it is beautiful. I liked wearing it. It was, I did reach for it quite a bit whenever it was, you know, in its prime. I liked wearing it. I just couldn't see myself, you know, going out of my way to buy it on its own. And then finally, this is the last product. It's the Suqqu Sheer Matte Lipstick, and this is the shade 1. This is something that suffered from, I couldn't figure out what the color was. So I thought this was gonna be like beigey, and it is definitely peach. Like a, maybe apricot would be a more just describing word for it. And Yeah, I just don't like that color that much. So it's a little bit light, so I would wear it with like a darker lip liner. That's not a problem. I don't mind adding lip liner to a thing. I just wish it was a color that I was gonna wear more. This is a sheer matte lipstick, and I don't like the way this looks on my lips. It's not the color. I mean, I don't really care for the color. That is true. On my lips, it looked really crusty, and it's a matte formula, so I know that my lips need to be prepped, a little bit for a matte formula. But I have a matte formula that's very similar to this in my collection that I feel like is just more elegant than this one. So I have a sheer matte lipstick from Givenchy. In fact, it's also orange, and I just like that formula a lot better. This lipstick does, the one from Givenchy, it does not swatch well. I know it doesn't look good, especially on my hairy hands. But on my lips, it looks gorgeous. I love the shade. I also really never figured out why mine didn't come with the full lid. So I don't know the answer to that, but I will say that was a deterrent from me wearing it. Like this was what the component looked like to me, sans lid, the whole time. So I don't know. I don't know why it came like that. One of you knows better than me. You're more well versed in suqqu. Was I supposed to buy a lid separately? I just don't know. And I know that some very luxury brands do that, where it's like you buy the lipstick and the lid for the lipstick separately. I guess I just didn't realize that was the case if I got into suqqu. So it doesn't feel so weird to me that they did that. Like, I think Guerlain does that. I think, what is it? Like, I think La Bouche Rouge does that. Like, there's a couple different brands that do that. So I don't know why I don't have a lid. I didn't go out of my way to buy one either. So yeah, that's all of the suqqu makeup that I purchased. And yeah, I'm so sorry this feels so negative. I tried really hard to do as many caveats as I can to tell you where I was coming from. None of it just feels worth it to me to like go out of your way to buy. Like nothing felt revolutionary. No formula felt like another formula. Like, like nothing felt so unique. If it's a brand that you have to buy on Selfridges, Harrods, or Cult Beauty, I don't know that it's worth it. And also, if you're buying, I do really think you're picking your poison when it comes to what you're paying for. If you're buying it through Selfridges, you're going to pay more in shipping. If you buy it from Cult Beauty, if you buy a few products, you're paying an excess amount that way. I don't know how Cult Beauty prices their things, but they are more expensive on Cult Beauty. I don't know if that's to make up for shipping on their end, but they do price things higher. If I were to recommend 3 things from the brand, if you are gung-ho about trying them, if you can find your shade in the foundation, this is really, really great. The blushes I do think are really good. I think they are the one thing from this brand that I feel like are hyped up an appropriate amount, but also, again, not something that I feel like you need to go out of your way to try. And I think the powder is really good. You get a ton of powder. Like, there's a lot to be said for this powder. I really enjoy it. It's a good powder. I don't really know how to wrap up this video, but I guess adding more context. If you are new to my channel and this is like the first video you watch from me, and let's say you're a suqqu fan, spare me in the comments. We are allowed to think differently about a brand. What I have learned as a content creator is, even if I don't like something, if someone was already excited to try a product, I'm not going to be the one who stops them. You should know that my approach to beauty is like to not get sucked up into the hype. And I was certainly sucked up into the hype of suqqu before I tried it. Trying it broke the spell for me, and I'm hoping to break the spell for people who have been lusting over it. It's all just makeup. I don't think any of makeup is worth like all of the hype that it might get. Like, it's just makeup. The makeup doesn't have feelings. And it's okay if you really love a brand and I just don't love it as much as you. It's gonna happen. I think that things that people should buy with their money should feel really worth it. And unfortunately, this didn't like land in that realm for me. I think the ultimate giveaway that this brand isn't for me, one of the most important things to me when I'm testing makeup, when the makeup is in my testing drawer, if I am not organically reaching for it, if I feel like I have to force myself to use it, if it does not become part of my regular routine on its own, then it's not a very good product for me. And none of these became part of my regular rotation. Every time I used one, it felt like a chore that I had to use it. Not necessarily because it was bad. It just felt like I was forcing myself to use it rather than really enjoying using it. And that's why I don't think it's worth going out of your way to try. Okay, I'm wrapping up the video here. If you didn't catch the vibe from the last bit here, I want to help myself and help you build the habit of being more discerning about the makeup that we are purchasing. If that kind of sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Share it with someone who was interested in suqqu and might need to be talked down a little bit. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. Like I said, that was really what helped me be able to do this brand review. So if you want to be part of that, I would love to have you there, but there's no pressure to join my Patreon. I'm just so happy that you are here liking, commenting, and sharing my content. And I have linked down below a link to help a family in Gaza. Check that out if you can. And that's going to wrap up the video. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.